Welcome to the world of Mime Over Matter. Today we're going to be doing a special craft slash stop motion. We are going to make a stop motion completely from scratch. So we're going to use a thread, a needle, some bendy wire, and a hammer, and a pair of pliers, all sorts of good stuff. We're going to use a nail, and we are going to use a pair of scissors. And I will explain where all this fits into place. Two markers, because why not? And some fabric. And what else are we going to use? Our handy dandy stop motion Lego stand, custom made. And an extra phone because I have to film on one and we have to do the stop motion with the other. And let's also use some stuffing. So, in case you didn't realize, with the thread and the fabric and the stuffing, we're going to making a stop motion out of a custom. We're just going to make a little creature and sew it together and make a stop motion out of that. I have an idea for a video. So it involves a bendy nail. So that's where the hammer and the pliers come in. So we're just going to bend the nail and he's going to be walking by that. So this is what the character is going to be interacting with. So that's the prop for it. And we're also going to use a piece of clay to keep that nail in place. And now it is time to sketch out what we're going to be sewing. So we're going to be making our little creature that we're going to be doing our stop motion with. And the bendy wire is to put inside of the creature, because if you make a stuffed animal, it doesn't really have any structure to it, so you can't really move it as well. I'm not sure how well this is going to work. I've never actually done this before, so this is a a first for me and a first for you if you're watching me do it. So let's hope for the best. So this is the use for one of our markers. I chose a lighter color so that it doesn't show through. We're going to be flipping it inside out. So if you use a black marker, you might see it. If you use a lighter color, this is actually probably a little darker than I was expecting. It looks lighter, but it's a kind of a darker purple, but that's fine. This is a really thick yellow fabric, so I think we'll be in good shape. So we got little legs, and we're going to do longer arms. He's going to be kind of disproportionate monster-like. Um, no reason why. I think the shorter legs might help with the stop motion. So longer legs, he's got more to balance on. Shorter legs, closer to the ground, lower center of gravity. So I think that's actually going to help us out. I double-sided the fabric, so this way I just have to sketch once, cut once, and then I have the two pieces that I can then sew them together on. The cutting through them with the scissors is going to be a little bit not time consuming. So I think while I'll cut, I'll talk a little bit more about why I'm doing this. So anyone's familiar with my stop motions, I'd say action figures are my bread and butter. But if you've watched a lot of my stop motions, you notice that I've also done stop motion with bread, and I've also made videos with butter. So I like using food. I like using crafts. Use clay as much as possible. I will use just paper cutouts. I do some sketches. I do drawing. I'm really big into arts and crafts. So whenever an opportunity comes, I will jump on it and do some painting and stop motion. Just there's all sorts of just fun to be had, and it opens up your creativity. Whereas I am a toy collector by trade, I'm always going to be excited about the new toys and come up with video ideas every time I get them. So that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from. But also, like I said, arts and crafts are equally as big a part of my life. So I'm trying to do a little bit more stop motion with some of these crafty ideas, because honestly, it's just fun for me. So hey, if it's fun for me and people enjoy watching it, that's a win-win for me. And I'm noticing it now, and perhaps you are noticing it as well. My marker choice might not have been the best option for this fabric and project. I went with the Crayola washable, but it is getting all over my hand because it's not quite sticking to the fabric, which it's doing its job because I know where to cut to get my design, but it's now my hands are nice and purple, which is great. If I wanted to dress up as Grimace, I'd be halfway there. Well, probably not halfway. I'd have to get a lot more of my body covered with this purple marker. So, hey, perhaps I'll do a Grimace video. So we are almost done cutting out our character, and then the next thing we're going to do, actually, he's kind of gingerbread man shaped. I didn't realize that till I kind of see him now. But he's not supposed to be a gingerbread man. He just kind of looks like that. I guess I have cookies on the mind. So after we finish cutting him out, our next step is going to be grab our needle and thread and sew him, and then we'll stuff him, get the wire in there, and then we will start our stop motion. We're going to do everything all in this one video, so if you're interested in how I do some of my stop motion, what my setup looks like, what I do, I'll give some recommendations, tips, along the way. So stick around for that. For the thread, I chose a darker one because I do want it to show up. The thread is actually part of the stop motion idea that I had, so I went with the one that's going to contrast against the yellow fabric. So if I was using a darker fabric, I would have gone with a lighter thread, so this way it stands out. But I had some nice yellow fabric that would be good for making this plush character. So we're going to go with the dark thread. We just need to thread our needle, which the way I have my camera set up, I have to hold my hands further out from my eyes than I'm typically used to doing when I'm sewing, cutting, crafting. So that is also a little bit of a learning curve. My placement of everything is not, what I'm used to, but I feel like I'm making it work. And plus, you get a nice close up view of my purple thumbs. Like a green thumb, you're good at, planting, growing flowers. Purple thumb, I'm not quite sure what that means, other than just distant relative of Grimace. So, and I do have my needle threaded, so now I'm just tying it off so this way we can start the sewing, and just put a couple loops on that one. Since it's a thicker fabric, I don't really need to go with it too big of a knot at the end. It's just one or two will actually probably hold it. But if you're doing something like a t-shirt fabric, you might want to do a little bit of a bigger knot because they do tend to pull, or just as you put it on, just do a quick knot into the fabric. Just I'm not the greatest sewer. These are just some of the things I do along the way because I'm not a professional sewer, so that's just what I do to keep it together. I have made plushes and stuffed animals in the past just for fun. So I know what works for me. So there might be some other cool things out there that other people do and ways to do it either quicker, make it look tighter, neater. But for this video, I'm just going to sew him up and he's going to tear open during the video. So I'm not going to spend too much time getting it perfect. Actually, him not being perfect is part of the video concept. And one thing I did not do, which I don't usually do this, is measure the thread. So there is a chance that I did not get enough. Usually I'm okay with, just pulling some extra thread, and if I have extra and I have to toss it, that's fine. If I throw away 12 inches of thread, it's not really a huge deal. But I'm not sure if I got enough because I do have to go around the entire guy. But, we'll see how it goes. We'll hope for the best. If it wasn't enough, hey, you know what we can do? We could always thread another needle and continue it off. So that is what we're going to do. So the idea that I got for this video was actually from a song that I was listening to, and a lot of the time I'll be listening to music and just either one line or the tone of the song, or I'll get an idea from it. So this one in particular, I was listening to Korn, Coming Undone, and it's a very catchy song, but I like the idea of you'll have a plush character who he gets, as you can, maybe you're putting it together with the nail, he walks by the nail, his thread gets caught, and then he starts coming undone. So it's just going to be a few seconds long just to align with the lyrics. However, for this particular video, that's going to be a short that we're going to release afterwards. But for this particular one, we can't use the songs in our long form video. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to actually come up with some dialogue for it. So this way we can share a finished product from beginning to end with some dialogue so we can watch it. It's probably going to be, just thinking it's going to be about 3 to 4 seconds. So that's about 30 to 40 pictures that we're going to take. I do a 0.1 frames per second. So 10 pictures is 1 second. So that's why I got the 30 to 40 pictures. So he's just going to be walking across the screen, tears open, stuffing falls out, and that'll be the video to the line of the song, "I'm Coming Undone." So, but now we got to think of some dialogue because, like as I said, we're gonna add some dialogue into this video. So I gotta think on that, or as Pooh Bear would say, think, think, think. And I just noticed since I'm so focused on the actual sewing that my hands and the project are completely out of frame, which in my opinion makes for a really great video because you're just seeing pieces of my fingers just moving around as stuff's just happening out of frame. So in editing, I think I'll try to put up something on the screen to I guess partially entertain you, but you'll probably already have seen them. So now my explaining it is like, oh yeah, that's why he did that. So I guess a little not foreshadowing, I guess it's post shadowing. And from a thread length perspective, I think we're actually doing pretty decent. So the idea is when you sew the any sort of plush animal creature pillow, is you sew it inside out and then you flip it inside out and you poke all the things through. So we are probably going to run out of thread, but as long as we run out of thread within the opening that we need to stuff it with and flip it inside out, it's going to be okay because we couldn't have sewn that anyway. So I think we're going to be in pretty decent shape. And like I said, if I have to throw some extra thread on there, it'll actually kind of fit the character design that I was going for anyway. So that is a unintentional mistake that is working out in my favor. Yeah, and I'm also a little bit curious how the wire is going to work. I've used it before with claymation. So if you make clay characters and you make the wireframe of them, it helps a little bit to get them to move and stay stable. With clay, when you start doing the stop motions with them, they do kind of start shrinking a little bit as you're pushing down on them and moving them. So he might be 3 inches tall at the beginning of the video and 2.5 inches at the end of the video, which is it's fine if it happens gradually. You won't notice it or it won't impact the quality of the video. But for this, I'm hoping that it'll give him some form so I could move his arms and legs. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll just lean him against the wall, and I think it'll be okay. We're not going for a high level masterclass blockbuster stop motion animation. This is just it's really for fun. So as long as I'm having fun, as long as it's enjoyable, that's all that really matters. All right, so we're flipping our guy inside out now. Sometimes it helps to have either a marker or the back of a paintbrush or either in your finger. You just poke it through to help get like the little things. So his arms and his feet are the smallest part of this, which are not too tiny, but sometimes if you're doing like ears of a teddy bear, you got to make sure you can poke it through so it pops out. Otherwise, it's going to be indented in the final form. We also got to make sure we capture everything. I think we're missing one of the arms that's just kind of tucked in there. So we just got to piece that out. We're just going to, this is where the pen slash marker slash paintbrush comes in handy. There we go. See, look at that. Pops right out. And as I mentioned before, the marker on the inside that we drew it around, that's now all over my hands. It's not visible once he's turned inside out, so that's perfect. And then this was by design. You can see the stitching is the dark stitching. It kind of pops on the yellow figure. So this way, we got a little bit of an opening in there. That's okay. It won't make any difference. We'll just cover it up or just make sure it's not visible or stuffing popping out. But that stitch work, that's by design. And now we have his open armpit that we are going to put our wireframe in there. So we're going to measure it out. So what I want to do is a little bit of a loop for a foot to kind of give him a base. Then it's going to wrap up, give a little bit of length for the arm. So we're just going to measure this out and then cut it and then kind of wire slash snake it through. So we're going to have the arm going up. It's going to come over to the other arm, and then it's going to loop back around for his other foot, and then the little kind of half circle stand base there to keep his feet with some sort of foot shape. And then the arms don't really matter. It's really just so I can move them back and forth. So there we go. It's a very flimsy wire, so you can cut it with a pair of scissors, or you can use a pair of pliers, or you can karate chop it if you're trained. So that's the rough shape of it. It does not need to be perfect because once it's in there, we can move it around, we can twist it. It's really just getting it in there and just having the rough idea of where you want things so you can kind of fold them into place because you're going to be working blind in there because once it's in there, you're just going to have to feel it out and hope for the best. But it's okay because there's enough wire as long as the guy can move. That's really what we're going for. So we've got a foot in there, we've got the arms, and then we just gotta snake the other piece in there, and just one more foot into his nice foot hole, and there we go. So this is our character. We still need to draw the face on him and stuff him with fluff and finish sewing him up, and then we are ready to go for the stop motion. So let's see how our stand did. We're just going to adjust his feet a little bit because the feet from the sewing, it's not a flat bottom. So in hindsight, what I could have done is not use the same front and back, but I've actually could have put a little bit of a lip to make toes on the front piece, so I could have sewed it flat. But that's okay. Like I said, we're not going for perfection. We're going for fun. So we're just gonna make it work. And honestly, once the fluff is in there, it's gonna give a little bit of a base to that anyway. So I think we're gonna be in good shape. He's balanced enough. And like I said, if he's not balanced, you could always lean against a wall. That is the great thing with stop motion is you just make it work. So if a character is falling, you could use a stand. If you don't want the stand to be in the shot, you just raise the camera so you don't see his feet. Or if you have someone like J. Jonah Jameson, who is notoriously clumsy, falling over, one of the most unbalanced Marvel Legends figures, he's always leaning against a wall, leaning on a desk. That's just a trick of the stop motion. Just use what you have and you just make it work. And there we have it. That is a perfect amount of stuffing. Just get our wire frame back in there. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a little bit more thread and we're just going to sew up the rest of them. And for this, we're not going to actually sew them up completely. We're going to leave a loose thread, which is what's going to get caught on the nail. So that's why I wasn't too concerned about making everything perfect and looking perfect because we're going to be cutting them open and taking out the fluff for our 30 to 40 pictures that we're going to be taking at the end of this. So, yeah, not too bad. And unfortunately, what this does mean is I need to thread another needle, which is, as I mentioned before, just the angles of which I'm working at. It's not an ideal setup for me, so it's a little bit awkward to kind of hold my arms out and try to thread the needle so that it's in the frame. Next time I could actually probably have pre-threaded needles if I were to do another video like this to save that time. Actually, that is probably a really smart idea. I was trying to go with just like, hey, here's everything I'm using. It's from scratch, just completely starting with all the materials. So that's why I didn't go with that, but I'm sure no one would mind if they didn't have to watch me try to thread a needle on camera because it's probably not the most exciting, but there are people who like things like that. So I'll just I'll classify it as like ASMR without the ASMR. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Scratch that. And while we're scratching, there's the ASMR. It's come full circle. All right, so we are good with the thread and needle. We're just going to finish sewing them up. And while we're doing this, we can think about what kind of face we're going to draw on him. That's why I went with the black marker. In theory, I could sew a face on him. You can put button eyes. You can do a stitching for the mouth. But for the purpose of this video, I don't think it adds any value. So I wasn't going to go with that. Maybe something in the future if it makes sense to do it. But for this guy, I wanted to go with a simple face, so probably just going to go with dot eyes, make him look a little bit innocent, no angry eyebrows. And for the mouth, I'm not sure. Since it's just a marker mouth, it's probably just going to be a line. Probably not a smile because he's like, I'm going to go with the innocent, aloof. He's walking by a nail. It's not good for him. So he's not really like a happy guy. So maybe either a straight line mouth or a frowny face. I'm probably just going to go with it. Then you can judge it and let me know if you like it, don't like it. If I should have gone with the button eyes, I feel like I should have gone with the button eyes, but I'm committed now, so we'll do more button eyes in the future. So we're just going with the nice little circles, and actually they look. I do like them actually. It actually looks pretty good. So this actually is coming together almost exactly as I kind of envisioned him. So he's got the nice flat mouth, just very little emotion to it. He's got his circle eyes. He looks very aloof. He's just, he's just kind of there, and he's going to be trying to get around, navigate life, and just like us, things are going to happen, and he's just going to come undone. So we're just trying to, yeah. So as far as standing goes, his balance is pretty good. Moving him for stop motion is going to be, I don't want it to come out too choppy. So I need to make sure I can do little motions with him. So I'm probably still going to have him leaning against the wall. So you can see, like, if he's leaning like this, it's going to be okay. There's going to be times where we're going to have to pick him up and cut his seams. So there might be some little bit of choppiness to it. But for the purpose of this video, like I said, I'm not going for perfection. Some of my other videos, if I make a mistake, I'll start over. But since I wanted to do this video in one shot from beginning to end, if I make a mistake, we're just gonna go with it. I'll call it out. You'll see it in the video. Things might jump, fall over, twitch, flash. That's gonna be okay. It's all part of stop motion. You can either start over or just move on. Which I'm making a 3-minute video, or sorry, 3-second video. So one frame is not going to ruin the entire thing for me. So right now we're setting up for our stop motion. We use the clay. We put our nail piece out there. You can see he's got his loose thread. We're just getting his feet in a spot where he can kind of stand up on his own. And we've got our handy dandy little custom Lego stop motion stand out. This is what I do for most of my stop motions. So I have two. I have the stand that my current camera is, or current phone is in, that's filming this. So I'll use that for the aerial shots. In anything that's going to be front facing, I always use my Lego stand. You can put the phone in there upright for shorts or long ways, like for this video that we're going to be using for the long form ones. All right, so here we go. So we have our camera set. The phone fits right in there. I built it in a way where it fits the phone case perfectly. And if we need to adjust the angles, we just grab some of the extra Lego pieces, put it under one of the sides, and then there we go. So this does say my camera is a little bit blurry and needs to be cleaned. I have not used this phone in a while. I had to turn it back on and charge it just to make this video. This is what I used to do my stop motions with about a year ago, so I know the quality of it, and the camera and the apps that it has are perfect for stop motion. So I trust the quality of it. And let's also do a little bit of a background. So these backgrounds that I use for my videos, a lot of them came with the Four Horsemen Studios, either Mythic Legions or Figura Obscura figures. This is a background from the Jacob Marley figure. So that's Ebenezer Scrooge in the background, just scared that Jacob Marley is coming out. But it's a nice in-room picture. So usually I'll use this if I have a setting that's in a home. Otherwise, I'll use some of my other ones. I have like a winter scene, a Sleepy Hollow scene, and a forest mountain scene. All sorts of fun stuff. So what you're witnessing now is the thrilling excitement of stop motion. So what I'm doing is I will move the character ever so slightly. I will take a picture. So what he's doing is he's going to be walking forward, and then for now he's just going to be going left and right, maybe swinging his arm a little bit until he gets to that nail. He's going to try to go around it, but he's going to get caught. So the motions we're doing right now, we probably got about like 10 to 15 pictures up until when he gets to the nail. So that's going to be about 1 second of the video. And then the thread is going to start pulling apart. So we are almost there. He's seeing the nail. He is turning sideways to try to get around it. The smaller motions that you have, the smaller or the smoother the stop motion is going to be. Like I said, I used 0.1 frames per, or 1 frame per, sorry, 10 frames per second. There's going to be 10 pictures to 1 second. So there's people that do a lot quicker. For the style I do, I I like that. I've tried to do faster ones. It just doesn't work for my style. It it goes too quickly, so it's not for me. And people have commented on my videos like, "Ah, you should do higher frames per second." I've tried. I just don't like it. I For me, it's not what I want to put out there. So I stick with my style. It lines up with the music videos that I do. It lines up with the action fights that I do. I'll slow things up, speed things up when it makes sense in the video. So sometimes it'll pause for a second for effect, or sometimes I'll speed up an action scene. But those are few and far between. 10 frames per second. That's for me. And now our buddy has just about got caught on the thread. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to undo some of the threads as he's moving forward. The thread's going to start to pull, and then he's going to become unsewn, and then he's going to start leaking his stuffing. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking out the threads. So as he's moving, you can see that they're going to start to loosen before they rip. So for this is one of those scenes where I'm picking him up, and if I put him back down and he's not in the exact spot, it might look a little bit awkward. So I might take multiple pictures of it, and I'll see how it looks, and so I can move them forward and back, and I can delete the ones that don't work out. Um, since he's gonna I can use the nail as a placement holder, so I'm pretty confident that I'm not gonna have to do that. But if you ever need to do that, feel free to do that. Just take multiple shots and delete the ones you're not using. Another trick that I like to use, and I will share this, is if you're doing a scene and you make a mistake, someone falls over, and you just can't get it back quite the same, what you can do is just cut to another scene, do a close up of his face, make him turn his head if they're fighting. Like, okay, they're fighting, he falls over, but you don't have to use that scene. You just do a close up of his face, and then you go back to the fight scene after you put him back up, or just a white flash and just add the lightning effect. I do that all the time because it's one, I think it adds to the video. Sometimes I'll use lightning when I don't make a mistake, but you know, just make it work. Get creative. Don't get frustrated. Just keep it positive. Stop motion's supposed to be fun. So just, you know, make it work. And the creativity might actually add value to your video that you're making. So don't be held back by it. And there we have it. So we've cut him open. His fluff is starting to come out. He's pulling on the nail. The nail is stuck to the ground. It's on some clay. Could be some gum. I don't really have that explained as to why it's sitting on it, or just it's a random nail there. I was originally thinking like, oh, I could put like a piece of wood, but then I have to make an entire floor. If I wanted to be fancy with this, and but it wasn't too much effort for what I was trying to do in this video. This was more just a fun beginning to end project. So maybe in the future I'll do a nice fancy version of this without the whole to do of making it from scratch. I'll have it more planned out, but for this one I'm already happy with how it's turning out. And then as he's walking forward, there's just going to be more and more stuffing coming out of him, and I just hope that it pairs as well to the song that it does in my mind. And if it doesn't, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'll find another song, or I'll just use whatever dialogue we're going to come up with at the end, and that'll be the video. And honestly, if it doesn't work and people don't enjoy it, it's not going to stop me. I'm just going to make more videos. So, oh, that's so much fluff. Yeah, so he's just pulling at it, and it's coming there. I don't use a lot of stuffing in videos. I know I've seen a ton of people use them for like clouds and fire and smoke, and with transformers and cars. I gotta start using it more. It always looks amazing. Whenever people use it, I do really think it looks great. So now that I actually have the fluff in my workstation, I'm gonna try to use that in some more of my videos. So be prepared to see a lot more fluff. And for the movement, we're gonna try to make him fully walk off the screen just because it's going to give a little bit more to the video. Like, we need to think about if we want it to be 3 to 4 seconds, we're probably about 20, 25 pictures into it right now. So that'll give us the last 10 to 15 pictures. So he's almost off the screen fully. And then once he is, then we got to pull the rest of the fluff and the nail. And then that should be perfect. And then that is it. And if you need to at the end of the video, and I'll show you all this when we're doing it, but if you need to make the last scene like 0.2 seconds versus 0.1 second, if you just want it to kind of stall for a little bit because he's walking off screen, you just don't want it to start right over if you're doing a YouTube short. And then once he's fully off screen, the only thing that's going to remain is the plot hole of why is there clay sitting there, because he's taking the nail with him that's dragging behind him. But, you know, I'm going to say it could be gum. Let's go with gum. It's not going to be explained in the video at all, but that's just why it's there. Or just clay. It doesn't need to make sense. It's a fun stop motion. All right, so we are almost completely off screen. I'm just going to get it all the way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the app that I make my stop motions with. I use Video Shop. It's a free app in the Google Play Store. I use an Android, so I believe you can also use Video Shop for an iPhone if you are an iPhone user. But I definitely recommend Video Shop. There's some other cool apps out there that people use for stop motion, but this is the one that I like. So what we're doing is we're starting a new project, and then we are going to import our pictures. So you can see there's all the pictures that I took. We'll see how many it is, and we just got to select them all. So this is not a stop motion app. There are some stop motion apps out there. This is just a video and picture editing app, but it has all the features I need, and it's easy for me to use, and I like it. I'm comfortable with it. It's got all the features, and there we go. There are all the pictures that we have. It came to 31 pictures, which is 3.1 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're just going to set them all to 0.1 seconds, and then you just saw actually, when we dropped our background and fixed it before, you could actually see the slight movement of it. We lined it up pretty well, but yeah, it happens. And I'm not going to change it. I think it works out pretty well. And then we're going to have to record our dialogue. I think for the character, he's yellow. We made a Pooh Bear reference before. We're just going to go with the Pooh Bear voice. So in Video Shop, you can go to voice and you can record.
Excuse me, Nat. Oh, bother.
So I wasn't feeling too confident about that one, so we'll listen to it and see if we like it.
Excuse me, Nat. Oh, bother.
And then we can always record over it again. Yeah, so I'm going to delete that, and we're going to re-record.
Excuse me now. Oh, bother.
All right, I'm feeling much better about that one. Let's just double check.
Excuse me now. Oh, bother.
Yes, I am very happy with that, and I'm going to process it, and at the end of this video, I'll put the full screen view of it so you can watch it in all its glory. And like I said, the main purpose of the video is to actually have it play over a song. So that is going to be the main intention of the release, but I don't want to take away from all the hard work that we did putting this together just now. So there we have it. In 30 minutes, we created a figure, a stop motion, and 3 seconds of magic. Thanks for watching.
Excuse me now. Oh, bother.